Shalom, shalom, shalom. I am Kasafa Ben Yah, a son of the Most High Yahweh. I am Thomas Anthony, a son of Henry Wilson and Mary Julia. Welcome. I don't know exactly who this is for, but whoever it's for, this is for you. The Most High came down here personally to speak with Moses personally. And he gave him 10 commandments. So now let's get it straight. He didn't give him 10 suggestions. He didn't give him 10 recommendations. He gave him 10 commandments. He says that we are to keep those commandments through all generations. Now, such a great cloud of witnesses from Moses on, Isaiah, Daniel, all of the prophets. And then, in what men call the New Testament, here comes the king. And the king takes 12 to himself. All of them kept the commandments. See, those commandments weren't just one of those 613 some odd laws. No, it wasn't just one of those statutes that we're still commanded to keep where we can and where we do. But no, this was separate. This was written by the highest authority that exists. Let that sink into the people in the back. These commandments was written with his own hand by his word, as it is written, by the highest authority that exists. Keep that in mind. Now let's fast forward to where we live today. I need you to understand, many of you don't understand Yah's word because, honestly, you let the preacher read it for you. Honestly, you can repeat certain scriptures that have been repeated to you that allow you to remain in your comfort zone. You haven't read it for yourself. So you don't recognize yourself. You don't recognize that this is your culture. This is not a religion for you. It is a religion for others who read about it and learn about it. But for you, it is your culture. It is how your ancestors lived before they got to Babylon 400 plus years ago. See, you first have to understand that this book was written by the Most High. The Most High said you was going to go into captivity again, this time by ships. This isn't for that, but it's there. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, read it. He said you would be sent to the land of your enemies. What was here before you got here? Their version of the church. What was their version based on? Was it based on your manuscript that people commonly call the Holy Bible? No, it was their variation of your manuscript. So let's get that straight. Your enemies were here before you. I'm not calling them your enemies. The Most High Yah called them your enemies. And what was there with them? That ho's religion. That Babylonian. The word calls her the whore of Babylon. Nowadays we call whores hoes. That hoe had her own version of your book. Let's fast forward now. You think, well, I'm not Catholic. Hey, do you keep the Sabbath? Was that one of his commandments? That hoe over there said you don't have to keep it anymore because you're under grace. That's what she said. But let me see the cloud of witnesses that stand against that. All of the prophets, all 12 of the disciples, the king. And I'll stop there. Is that enough? Let me say that again. All of the prophets, all of the disciples, all of the apostles, and the king. Because see, for them, the Ten Commandments wasn't a religious thing to do. It's their culture, it's who they are. They are Ibrahim, Hebrew, Israelite, Yashalite, whichever term you like. They were of the chosen seed of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. And so are most of you. You know who I'm talking to. You're probably the only ones that are listening. There's probably very few of you. I don't know. That's not my call. My call is this. Let's look at the words of the king. I'm going to pull it up because I am not a super biblical scholar, but I know what's written. Now, that hole over there, it's easy for you to break that one commandment out of 10. You say, well, I'll keep the other 9. 1 out of 10. Why does that sound familiar? 10%. It's a tithe. What are you doing with that tithe? Who are you giving it to? Who is it benefiting? See, tithes benefit someone. It's for a reason. It could be the man of Yah who does ministry full time. It could be the ministry of Yah as people are being awakened and the kingdom being assembled. But it has a reason, a purpose, a beneficiary. Who's the beneficiary of that tithe of you violating the Sabbath? It's not Yah. According to the word, he changes not. He wrote those down himself. He's the highest authority that exists. But that hoe over there, her version says, nah, we're going to do Sunday. Who are you listening to? Are you listening to that great cloud of witnesses that came before you? Or are you listening to your enemy? Of course, this is what you were raised with. You were raised in Babylon. Of course, her version is comfortable for you. It's what you were given. You treated your preacher like you do your doctor and your lawyer. You assume that your doctor, who's gone through medical school, knows more than you. So when he tells you take this pill, you take it. When he tells you to do this, you do it. Because you feel like he's your doctor, he knows more. Your lawyer, when you're going to work and you have a case, whether it's civil or criminal, you put it in the hands of your lawyer. Because you figure, he went to law school, he knows more than me. And unfortunately, so many of you have treated your preacher the same way. And so many preachers are not telling you the truth. Not only of who you are, but what it means. So that you don't recognize yourself in your own manuscript. How many of these churches are on the Sabbath barbecuing pork? Like my Abba's pleased with that. But see, the king himself spoke on this. The king now. Again, none of this is my opinion. The king spoke what was written before he got here. What was written before he got here? That which you call the Old Testament. The laws, the statutes, the commandments. He constantly quoted them. He quoted the prophets. He lived the prophecies that were spoken of him. And what did the king say? Now, if you call yourself a follower of the king, but you don't listen to what he does, you're already guilty of not living as he lived. You're already guilty of not keeping the Sabbaths and the festivals that he kept. Now, if you're also going to be guilty of not listening to his own words, I don't feel for you. Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least, did he say laws? No, commandments. And teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of the Shamayim, or heaven. So, for some of you pig meat eating preachers, you may make it in, because many of you are Israel. And rather people interpret it one way or the other, I don't interpret his word. I take them as it is written. And he said, all Israel shall be saved. So I leave it at that. But the king said, you'll be called least. And many of you are doing it for the financial gain. And you're telling yourself, at least I have a nice house. At least I have a nice car. At least I have money in the bank. At least my wife is beautiful. At least my children are doing well. At least. Keep saying that. Because according to the king's word, you're setting yourself up to be least in the permanent kingdom. The kingdom outside of time. The kingdom of heaven. You're setting yourself up to be least when it matters. When Yah says right there, whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom. So for the least of these things on this side, the least of these things that you say at least about, you're exchanging your potential for greatness in the kingdom. See, to use your term, at least here, you could be born poor and claw your way up the socioeconomic ladder. Excuse me. At least. Get used to that terminology. Because if you don't repent, you have 10 toes. Cut one off and see how your run is affected, how your walk is affected, how your stance is affected. You think you're not affected by violating the one commandment with a promise that it may be well with you? You think it's well with you? Or are you in a prison cell that's comfortable that you don't recognize you're in the prison cell? You don't recognize that breaking that one commandment is a tenth, one of the 10, and that you're paying that tenth, that tithe to the enemy. So sure, the enemy is going to not begrudge you your nice house. He's not going to begrudge you your nice car, your nice lifestyle. But when you get home, how foolish will you feel? If you make it home, I pray you do. Don't know who it was for, but whoever it was, look into it for yourself. You want the truth? Everyone says, I want the truth. I say the same thing. I want the truth. So, where's the truth? If you agree with me that this is Yah's word, then you know that he doesn't change by his word. You want the truth? Here we go. Psalms 119, verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Now you could listen to the prophets because they spoke the truth. You can listen to the disciples, the apostles, because they spoke the truth. And you better listen to the king because he only speaks the truth. Read it for yourself. Ask Abba to give you eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to understand, and he will, but you better ask and stop thinking that you already see it, that you already hear, and that you already understand it, because evidently, based only on the word, not my opinion, you don't. But you can. It's not too late, as long as you draw breath. Love you. Peace.